Good day, friends. Russ Barkley here, your favorite badass boomer, here to talk about how to manage children's behavior at school if they have ADHD. Uh, Over 90% of children with ADHD have difficulties in the school environment at some point, especially if their ADHD is not being managed properly. And one of the best things that parents can do to try to help with that is a system called the Daily Behavior Report Card. So let's tee up our PowerPoint presentation and let's talk about this. I know parents often struggle with what can I do to help my child with ADHD at school when I'm not there? Isn't that the teacher's responsibility? Well, yes, it is. And we're not going to minimize that. Teachers have a role, a responsibility to play in helping children with ADHD cope with and effectively succeed in the classroom environment. But parents want to help too, and there are some things that parents can do actually to help facilitate better behavior at school. One of the simplest and the most widely used systems that we have in the psychology of ADHD in kids for helping out at school is this daily behavior report card. And it comes in many shapes, sizes, and forms. But let's just go through the essence of what this card includes. And you can find that it can be implemented relatively quickly. It requires almost no time on the part of the teacher, maybe a few seconds at the end of each class period. It increases accountability with the ADHD child's behavior, which we know is very important in people with ADHD. There's a self-regulation problem at the heart of ADHD, and one way to help deal with that is through increased accountability to others for the goals that we have. And this card helps to achieve that. It also serves to communicate between school and home where there may be limited or little communication going on between parent and teacher. Finally, it links up the more important consequences or privileges that children have at home with how they behave at school that day. So it kind of makes this cross-temporal, longer-term connection between what I do now and what happens to me later. Obviously, because of that, this card should not be used in children who are in kindergarten, first grade. Maybe second grade, you could start to use it depending upon the level of development or intelligence of the child. But right around third grade, children can begin to make these temporal connections across time. So if you have somebody in a younger grade than third grade, feel free to try it, but don't be surprised if it takes a little while to get started and for the child to be able to latch on to, if you will, the concept here. Now, homeschool report cards, these with home-based consequences, state the goals that we're trying to achieve, what behaviors are we trying to change in a positive manner, not a negative manner. So instead of saying we want to stop fighting at school or stop arguing with other kids, we want to increase positive interactions with peers, for instance. It also specifies certain behavioral and academic goals with regard to on-task behavior, completion of in-class assignments, and so on. You want to make sure that you don't target too many goals. We usually suggest 4 or 5 goals on a report card, no more than that, because then it gets overwhelming. This way, teachers can also provide quantitative feedback about the child rather than just a smiley face, was it a good day or not? That's not very helpful for managing a child's behavior because behavior falls along a spectrum of negativity to positivity. So by using a rating system, in this case 1 to 5, we get that quantitative feedback about how the kids are doing. The feedback is provided quickly. So although the privileges occur later with the home point system, the child is getting feedback at the end of each class period as to how they did in school that day. Not the whole school day. Each and every single class is evaluated on this. If you're just evaluating the whole school day, it doesn't work very well. That's just too broad an evaluation. As I said, it provides regular daily communication between parents and teachers. It links consequences at home to appropriate school behavior. It also helps to solicit parental cooperation before starting, and teacher cooperation. We want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So if you need to, have a conference with the teacher, or at least send a note to school explaining you'd like to do this. But a quick consultation with school staff is often very helpful in getting this started. Obviously, if your child is older, in middle school or high school, you can get their input into what the goals should be, what are they struggling with at school, and so on. And then if you need to, every week or two, evaluate the card and make some adjustments to it if you need to. If you need to change a goal, if one is going very well, you can substitute in one that isn't going quite so well, so as to target the things that need assistance, need targeting, rather than continue to focus on the things that are going well. Now, here's a copy of a report card that I have used in private practice for many, many years with families. It's one of the more common out there, but you can make your own. It looks like this. And to make this, you simply take your favorite word processing program, use the insert table function, and create enough columns and enough lines in the table to accommodate the goals, which you see over here, and each subject that the child has. So it can be gym, math, reading, spelling, science, history, and so on. So make sure that all the classes are being covered. Even if it's the same teacher, we want to break it down into smaller activities by subject matter. Over here, list your goals. Notice they're positive, gets along well with others, follows rules in class, completes homework assignments, completes in-class assignments, and so on, in class participation. Now, so what happens is the child takes this to school, or the homeroom teacher, where the child goes first, can have some of these and hand them out. However it gets to school, not a problem. And at the end of each class period, the child presents the card to the teacher to be evaluated. Now, they can give the card at the beginning of class to their teacher and pick it up at the end of class as they leave the classroom. That's an even easier way to do it, so the teacher has it in front of her or him, and they can evaluate the child's behavior. So teacher number one, first part of the day, is going to go down this list of goals and use a rating system we use from 1 to 5. 1 is excellent, 5 is terrible. If you prefer to reverse that, you can make 5 excellent because it's the larger number, and you can make 1 terrible. However you want to do that, that's the rating system. We're going to use 5 different ratings for each of these goals. So go down and put a number beside this, and then the teacher initials it to make sure it's not a forgery. Older kids can get very savvy about this, and they can learn to fill out the card themselves and fabricate the teacher's initials, and it comes home and you think everything's just great. What does that mean? It means that for those kinds of children, you may need to check with the teacher every week or two to be sure that he or she has been filling out the card every day, and that way you catch any kind of cheating that's going on here. And by the way, if we do catch cheating, the child is grounded at home that afternoon, no electronic privileges as part of the penalty for that kind of cheating. So at the end of each class, the teacher evaluates the student, and then it goes to the next teacher, and so on across the school day. By the end of the school day, you've got a lot of information about how the child is behaving. The child has gotten a lot of frequent feedback about how well they're doing in school. The card then goes home, and if you want, you can have the child put their homework assignments on the back of the card to be sure that they get home as well. And then when the child gets home and the parent gets home, they evaluate the day. And we ask that parents start out by simply looking at the card and commenting on what was positive that day. Where did the child do well? Why do they think they did well in that class? Then go back and take a look at where are they struggling to perform well? What do they think the trouble was there? What could we do about that tomorrow? So there's a conversation around the card. And then the parent converts the numbers on the card to a point system. Here you see in parentheses the points, 25 points for an excellent rating, 15, 5, and then negative points for negative ratings. So you're losing points if you get a 4 or a 5 or a 4 or a terrible rating here. So there's some negative penalty built into this besides a positive point system that's being awarded. So add up all the points, subtract the negative points, That's how many points the child has to spend at home to get their privileges. Now, of course, parents are going to need to make up a menu, a list of the child's various privileges, and determine how much they want to charge the child for that particular privilege. So if the child wants to watch a television program or use the internet connection to stream something, or maybe watch a YouTube video or something, they have to pay a certain number of points for, let's say, every 15 minutes or 30 minutes of viewing time. But you can take all of the child's privileges, if you like, put them on a menu, and then determine how much to charge. Now, how much do you charge? Well, how much are they earning on the average day? We want to keep the daily privileges inexpensive so that the child is earning something each day, but longer term privileges such as playing at a friend's, or better yet, going to a movie, or renting a particular movie off of their streaming service, whatever, the child can earn points toward these longer term privileges. For older children who get an allowance, they can get extra money on the system if parents wish to do that. So there are different privileges that you can associate here. The shorter ones are less expensive, the longer term ones are more expensive. Don't worry about this when you start. You can always readjust the numbers based on your experience with the program as it gets going. So I hope you see how this works. Child's evaluated at school, the evaluation goes home, the parent converts the evaluation into a point system, and the points, like money, are being spent for the child's privileges at home. The child can also save up points for longer term privileges such as toys, additional allowance, going out to a movie, going to see a friend, something like that, so that there are short-term and long-term consequences here. And then, of course, as I said, on the back, you might put the child's homework assignment. So that's a daily report card system and how it works. Now, if you don't want to get that complicated, you can do this kind of school home note program. I'm not as fond of this one because it uses a yes-no evaluation rather than a spectrum of evaluations, a numbering system that gives us a more graded view of the child's behavior. But for younger children, this is fine. But again, it kind of evaluates the whole school day, which is not something I encourage because the child is not going to be getting specific feedback for very short periods of time, which is a much better form of accountability than just evaluating the school day all in one fell swoop. So that's an intervention for kids and teens at school. Some parents ask, well, how long do I have to do this program? I suggest that you do it up until the point where all of the numbers are positive numbers for several weeks. And then you can fade the system out, but with the admonishment to the child that if reports start to come home of further behavior problems, that the school report card is going to be reinstituted again. Some people do a transition step here where they go from the teacher evaluating the student after 2 weeks or so of good evaluations, they then go to an extra step, self-evaluation. I find that very helpful for middle school and high school students as their self-awareness is coming online. You can have them fill out the card and simply show it to the teacher for the teacher to confirm the child's self-evaluation and then make some adjustments if they feel that the student has under or over-evaluated themselves. So you can go to a self-evaluation for a couple of weeks, and when that goes very well, then you can fade the system out entirely, but to be reinstituted periodically if needed where there are reports of new school misbehavior. So I hope you find that system useful for parents who have ADHD children all the way up through high school. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be back again in a couple of days with another video on ADHD. And also, if you like our content, as I always suggest, please recommend this channel to others. And if you're not a subscriber, think about subscribing. We have some really great subscribers who give very good, informative replies to these videos. So if you look at a video, check out the reply section to see if there's anything additionally helpful to you that might be in that particular reply section. Thanks, everybody. See you in a few days.